said about 1 in 3 people throughout the world were infected by the Spanish flu, and it killed around 20 to 15 million people. So this was also a devastating pandemic. It went throughout the world. People didn't know what was happening. So this is very similar to the situation we're having at the moment. And where did that come from? We know that in Kansas, somewhere, Kansas, USA, probably someone was infected by a pig flu virus that came from a chicken. So a chicken had a certain flu virus. The chicken infected the pig. The pig had another virus, and these two viruses mixed, or they mutated to form a virus that was able to infect humans. So that we know that happened. This is the same case that I explained about the coronavirus in my past few slides. The same thing probably happened with the Spanish flu. These viruses, they mixed and they became able to infect the human. So this pig, because this farmer was working with the pig, he was infected by this virus, and this was the virus that became the Spanish flu. He got ill, he infected someone, and it kept going, and eventually it went around the world. So we know that that happened. That's why I also assume that the same thing probably happened right now. Another more recent example is Ebola. We had Ebola in West Africa from around December 2013 to January 2016. There were about 28,000 cases and 11,000 deaths throughout that epidemic. I'm sorry. How did the Ebola virus happen? Same thing again. We know that Ebola viruses, they come from bats. So these bats, they would infect a deer, or they would infect a chimpanzee, and within the chimpanzee or the deer, the virus, it would mutate, it would mix, it would develop new characteristics, and either this deer or this ape, it would infect another bat, or it would infect another human. We know that because of this mixing within these animals, that the virus became able to infect the human, and then it went on to humans, and the humans started transmitting amongst their community. And that is how we know that this virus, that's what we think how this virus originated, and that's how it started to spread. So the reason that this happened is because humans and animals, they live closely to each other. The bats, they live close to the deer, and the gorillas, they come into contact with human beings, and they spread their viruses, and the humans came into contact with other humans, and that is how it started spreading. So that's another example of animals causing a pandemic, causing epidemics around the world. A third example, I think most people will know best, is malaria. We know malaria is caused by mosquitoes, the Anopheles mosquitoes, and it kills about 650,000 people yearly. Malaria was developed over 13 million years ago. So people don't talk about when was malaria, when did it start happening, but it's probably the same story that apes or animals around humans, they started mixing. The parasite that caused malaria, it became able to infect humans. It was imbued within the mosquitoes, and the mosquitoes started transmitting it. And since then, we've had malaria. It's since 30 million years ago, people were having malaria, but at a certain point, it started. Like viruses, like all of these kinds of diseases, they've started throughout history, and in the future we will have new viruses, new parasites that will develop, because we live with animals, and these animals, they can spread. So why is this happening now? A large part is because of urban development. If there are certain types of animals, let's say certain types of bats, certain types of apes or something that live deep within a jungle area, somewhere in China, somewhere in Africa, where humans don't usually come, if the city starts to develop there and human beings start to live there, and we come into close contact with animal species that we never really had close contact with, our pigs or the chicken we used to eat, they come into contact with the bats. The bat viruses start mixing with the chicken viruses, and it becomes a virus that infects humans. This is for a large part caused by human development, because we are always expanding. Our cities are getting bigger. We are moving. There's deforestation. We are decreasing the size of the jungles we have in different places, and we are moving into new territories where human beings usually didn't live. So that causes some kind of interplay within with these animals, which is the habitat, which is the place where viruses and all these kinds of illnesses they can develop. Okay, the next question was, can someone get COVID a second time? The answer is, at the moment, we don't really know. If you have a coronavirus and you ask me, can you get the coronavirus 3 or 4 years after you've had the disease? No one knows, because the first people who had the disease were around October, November 2019. No one knows what will happen after 3 years, after 4 years, after 10 years. No one knows, because it's a new disease. We can only know what happens after, let's say, about 1.5 years, because we've only been living with this disease about 1.5 years. What do we know at this point? At this point, we know that most people who had the coronavirus within a year, the chances of having a new infection are low. If you're below the age of 65, because your immune system, because you're in good health, it will continue to protect you within the year. If you are above the age of 65, you will still have a good protection, but it will be lower. So the chances of it getting it are not zero. You can get the coronavirus again within the year, but if you are below the age of 65, the chances of it happening are rather low. But I don't know if this will be true for 2 years, if this will be true for 3 years or for 4 years. That we don't know. That's a question I can answer next year or one of the years after that. But at the moment, we don't know, because it's too new. Fourth question, does coronavirus, COVID-19 cause infertility? I would say at the moment, the data that we have would suggest no. There is no impact on coronavirus, on sperm quality, on fertility of women. At the moment, we don't think it does. The people that had the virus, they've been having the same amount of babies as people that didn't have the illness. So at the moment, I don't think there is any proof of this diminishing fertility. I know the media in Belgium, some months ago, they talked about coronavirus diminishing the quality of sperm in men, but I think that was a false report. I don't really believe this is true. The fifth question, are the vaccines safe? I think this is something a lot of people want to know, because it's a very hot topic at the moment. The vaccines, they're safe. They were developed, they were very thoroughly tested, and we know that they are safe, and we know that they protect against the virus very well. This does not mean that the vaccines are without side effects. We know, for example, one of the most common vaccines, the Pfizer one, we know that you can have injection pain. If they inject it in your arm, you can have pain at the site of the infection. And this can last up to 3 or 4 days, where you can feel sore, where when you want to reach for something in the cupboard, the arm can feel sore, you can feel pain in that arm. We know that this happens in about 68% of people after the first dose, and in fact about 75% after the second dose. So we know that this is a side effect of the vaccine, and that this can happen. So if you go for your vaccine, know that the arm, it can feel sore, and the arm can feel sore for 2 to 3 or 4 days after that. So this is not something to be scared of or hesitant to get the vaccine because of this, because we know you can have pain, but we also know that the pain will go away. So what do you also know? You can feel fatigue, you can feel tired after the vaccine, up to 29% after the first vaccine and up to 50% of the second vaccine. But like I said, we know this can happen with the vaccine, and we know this fatigue, it will also go away in about 48 hours. So another reason not to feel anxious about the vaccine. Other side effects are, like I said, headache, muscle pain, 26% after the first dose, 42% after the second dose. Same with muscle pain, 17% after the first dose, 42% after the second dose. So in general, I would say the second dose is a bit more difficult than the first dose, but still these things will go away in up to 48 hours. Some people also get fever and even chills after the second vaccine. But like I said, if you know that you are getting this vaccine on Friday, then you don't need to be scared that, let's say on Friday evening or Saturday, you're experiencing a bit of headache or muscle pain or a light fever, this does not mean you're getting ill. This does not mean that you are getting a disease or anything. This is known side effect of the vaccine. So know that this can happen and take precautionary measures, and know that probably if you get it on Friday, by the end of the weekend, you will probably be fine. So don't feel too anxious about that, because we know these are the side effects of the vaccine. If you're going for your vaccine, know that these things can happen and know that they will be temporary. That's very important to know. Okay. So I think that was the last question I had prepared. Maybe now we can go back to the questions that the audience has about things, and if things weren't clear, then maybe I can repeat them again.
Andrew, I think you'll be a commercial break about that. Yeah, about questions.
And then Pachamati Doka,
so commercial break. After that, you're going to receive the questions from the audience.
Yeah. Yo, answer your questions, Simuno. You best say you bet in Kabuka crab in your shannon soon. Kabuka crab in a oho, and I said, Mama Grandy Kinky, no, I are hot. With or without COVID, you be did it. We are now for you, the Akana Twasso. It's going to be few carbon tank. Nase COVID be how I be what they from my Grandy hot kinky line. Oba brother kuna esopa now di be actual how far dokono. Delivery better is a global craft hall and a bad and chair on befe biakro and ya de ketwa. Aha, dokono to fly to you with hot pepper, bibiaki kahon, bibia, not bad no screen is on 0467 680686. Team carbon question now for Unibi, so on my join it. Na program na the area ya toa addition so kama afei nso se wo story bi afeso wo share na yedi home for yedi hia ho ne ma number no ene da ani no bomode ana frɛ na yedi obedi nkomo kama na yedi story no so abeto edwa na ayefe ha eno so course ne ebo nka yese nipa bebre afei this year in fact omaboa my story dwumadi pa binumu wa no ma wa yeska tum ye fantie zoom neka in fact edamu nyina amase pokra so ya na ensuo da so togum se nyameka akoma se support dwumadi ya bank account number na that screen no witness screenshot na ketwa bia nsa wo de aboa na dwumadi so atimi akonkan amana yeye na mebo bradenis adwuma ho so da wo de se we bema o material so person pampa mema niema Ghana ntade fefefefe kotonto mo bempa ma fine ha on so adwuma odi hu akwati pa no fre bra Dennis obeboa ama afei so de upe bia no su kama COVID or no COVID betu kwan ina no bebre kwa Ghana enam yenua a wono so abie dina kono so abie travel and tours na daroma ha bomoda na fre number no na sika no tie kakra utie wia no akwaje opese okọ Ghana December kodi Christmas ya sadi tia akato ho ne aha utia chakuni nsempo a enche na watie we no akwaje okasa wo twema ni nyina no aboa ano a ni tua ne be ye odin ti Dina Travel Consultancy udi no krepa udi no kre obeboa ama wonsa account ticket kama na afi akonkan yada mo ase biwi anam aba ana mede ma no si me kanfo ofadu amankwa ono so woye movement bebi onema wo bia door to door about from Okelda to your hometown village kra ka ko timi de helicopter deliver ne manama okwa no ne bosuafo atwa photo de abra won say yes the obinsa aka ne man fine na ama yi so akoye yegida ye die mu yie friends penifo say enibo a etire mu ana ekọ medamo ase ye kwato adwumadie ni so na Dr. Cedric wadano asi efo a etosumenu no o wasem bia opese obusa enfere kase bia eigbe mete kotokole mete enkrankwa na mentie kase bia o kan mechi Netherlands kra e ka Alice Natures Fatale for ye wo ka bibia no a meye enkrade mente enkrade nya sama gabo acholo na enkrade de ba mintimi nchirem fabra na afi ye nchirechirem na enkoyi enti ye bie ko na to for asembisa Mahus mama bedu sre o pa o pese obuse masem wa hu wa ya da me fetale no me kan la sra me ko français eh ne pa krake edwaye e na ndwaye pa ye bedwa kai ne pa krake edwaye ampaya e bedwa ne French no for asem brother me musa ba
Ada question ya obi asande bi aba o pese ubusa emma emo o say se unya covid ni bi na se unti smell ya how long ena bekoso akusisa bekoso a
se covid ni bia na sa untimi hwia hwe ya
unti hwe ya
okay
Dr.
Cedric, the question on board is if you have the symptoms of the coronavirus and you can't smell, you can't taste, you can't feel anything, how long will this persist?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say that some people, they never recuperate their smell and their taste and their smell. Some people, they never recover from it. But most people in general, they do, and it will take them about a few weeks to recover. But sadly, some people, they never recover. Yes.
Wow.
What's in the paper? Sa ehome sa woti ade mpampa na sa woti tese be asiti ade esi detiti no ebi wo ha na wotwe ne akiri kra na enkoi ebi wo kra enkokra agi se covid-19 no virus no afiri moja mu ansa nya sa ade a bo study ayibo ayi no aha sa na tie wonte hwe good Dr. Chrim
here questions more questions please
Papa cho matumi abi still question kakra
we sami anko aje ochire
me pesa me bisa se covid no wo boje mu ana se wo efiri e kasa mu sani ankofo kane ye home mu
okay so Dr. Cedric
boje mu yade ana
the question here is the mode of transmission. Is it through blood transfusion or from blood to blood or airborne or spexial or how is it transmitted?
Yes, well, mostly in general, mostly through droplets. So you will spread it. If you have the virus within you, you will spread it through your mouth. If you sing, if you talk, if you sneeze, if you cough, the virus within your mouth, within your saliva, you will, if it reaches the other person, you might be able to infect it. So it's mostly to bodily fluids. So that's the main mode of transportation. I wouldn't say the other modes are impossible, but mostly through contact and through spread of bodily fluids, saliva, and through talking, breathing, coughing, sneezing. Yes.
Okay, I just want to patch mu say enye moja mu per se na mom enipa hunu nsuo no se me nwansi ehia ntutu obi firi me mu ba ana me kasa ana me todwom ana me bie ma no se me kasa ntutu ne firi me no mu ba no ntesuo na ewo mu no ena ya na moawa ne namu kisi obi ben na ohwemu kode mu pa na afa ana afa so me bo wagu table so na do se be sisu a no ate na de ko and so from surfaces the opportunity say enye say the other way no etimi nya possible the name the atadi mu akwetene pa ne say nipa body mu nsuo na enam ewie mu ekosa no sa na tie
Ada praise the Lord. My story
changing lives
say be a when your virus no be winning how long maybe when you be but won't treat unnim se when you be be decide at me atena wo ho enfie dodo di mfie manase be decide at me atena ho and a second question also e bi o ma manya bi no adentina mpane ne mfa ngo wo ma o mo ho nto wo na still na nipa da so gu intensive care se pane no ho de a o ma manya bi dada no ti si o manya bi ya ne mfa ngo wo and my question is when you be so na wonnim a bredo do se na virus no betimi atena wo ho
se wunnim a another say be di asa no wahu se wu bi ana wuni bi ana se say
bia wunya virus na another do se na betimi atena wo ho se bia wo ho na wuntriti betimi atena ho saa 1 year ana se
Abraham
sana
Abraham ku na eko yemanu pa Dr. Cedric, the question is, if you potentially have the virus, you are tested positive for it, how long will the virus be in your system before eventually, I don't know if you have that or you sustain it, how long will it stay within you?
Are we talking about within you as in can I infect people, or within you as in having symptoms and having problems?
He might not actually know whether he has it or not. He doesn't even know if he had the symptoms or not.
In general, we would say about 10 to 14 days. So if you have the disease, day one of you having the disease, it will take about 10 to 14 days for you to stop being contagious.
I was say best 2 weeks there. Na atena mu a wo so betimi di asai amana yeye. The second question kan ho. And that's it. The second question be kan ho betimi repeat am kakra.
Na me busa say adenti na omo manya bi no. Dem fa panye no ngo omo ma omo ho nto omo na still na ade no guso e koso say once e duro no ho de. So nka bi akwa e de wo wa na ho ato e de wo wa na ho ato but
okay. Dr. Cedric, the second question is, why is it that those who have been tested positive to it, why don't they get the shot, the immunization shot, so that they will be cured of it? Or is the shot not meant to cure it, but rather to prevent?
So I didn't understand the question.
Why is it that those who have been tested positive don't get the injection? They
get it.
They get it, okay. But then if they get it, why is the virus spreading still growing at a rampant stage? Why?
At the moment?
Yes.
Well, at the moment, I think we don't have enough vaccines in Belgium. At the moment, we've vaccinated about 10% of the population. So that's not enough. Belgium has about 11 million people. We vaccinated about roughly 1 million, which still leaves about 10 to 9 million left who are not vaccinated. The virus can spread within those 9 to 10 million. So we just need more vaccines. We need to vaccinate more people, and that will hopefully stop this pandemic. But at the moment, we just haven't vaccinated enough people.
Okay. The opportunity say krom ha no enipa no do so wa ha. Nipa be say PPP du ba ko na wa ha. Ana mu be ba ko 1 million pe ne ye de awo won. Enti dudu ono na ye nya fa wo mo no. Wo mo na de sa wo mo ho amu sa. Enti ye bo mpa ye se betimi de mpa na wo dodo na obi enya bia wo. Am say manfo dodo no nya bi wo ano no ebe brase kakra.
Adam Pacho, I think the question is Metia as ya or say Padia say yes, vaccine no as a idea. I didn't know the hospital. Young for vaccine who now or Monto no so vivo. Ha. It's your
okay. Dr. Cedric, please. The question has been reframed. Okay. If the injection is so effective, why is it that those who are now in the intensive care, in the ICUs, in the hospitals, why don't they get a shot so they'll be better and then walk out and go home? But instead they are dying.
Yeah.
Why?
The infection, it doesn't work that way. The injection works in people who don't have coronavirus. It can prevent the disease. The injection is not to cure the disease. The injection is to prevent it from happening. If you have it, the injection, it doesn't do anything.
Wow.
Okay. So when you be that dia, you the war cry, you said or de a boss not task and go to Nemo Musebinia or they are what they want. Na adiana I say police no target no take corona be opportunity no dia dia hwiri it is say what pania na dia aha covid no mail bibia ya ode ya ne wuri nyame nkuro ana wo sin aha enipa miensa so am omo sa so tama be fre wo ti ba modin ase wo ma ebi nya wo nya sa yere pania na wo wa enko sa na tie ana papa nya betre ma me obu afu ana
minu say we sorry.
It's what everybody says here. Okay, so okay. Now we will be say yeah the our we no. When you corona ni be we no. So when you be a weird, I won't hear panini beam. Yes, and apatry. Okay, doctor, here somebody wanna ask that if you once been tested positive,
Yes.
but by means of whatever, according to your explanation, once you have been tested positive and you have get cured out of it, that means you don't need the vaccine anymore. Is that how it is?
No. That's a good question. No, we would still recommend the vaccine because we know the vaccine will offer you a broader protection probably. Yeah.
Okay.
We hope that the vaccine will protect better and longer. That's the idea.
Okay. Yo, Dr. Patrick says, when you been on one talk, I just saw some panel. Said you pen a bit me about who buying in a wider sphere. Said you be intimate and you. Okay. Yo, Dr. Carr said, you said that those who are already in the hospital beds who are highly infectious with this COVID-19, they don't need the shot because it will not work anyway. Is that what you said, or did I get it wrong?
Yes, the ones who are in the hospital, they don't need the shot to cure their disease. Maybe
okay.
if they get released from the hospital, if they are healthy again in a few months after that, they can get the shot. Then they can get it. But at the moment, if they are there and they are ill, you don't need to give them the shot because that won't work. That will be harmful even.
Okay. Yo, the doctor Patrick says, "Ubi you're not that horror, you're Sabia. In fact, with the womb pastua, you're the panel one and a hontono because you're in a docro nevi. Namuame and Abnas and a hotono. No, befia. After some months later, you make me with the be 7 year COVID-19 8 me sign and yenu beam. It's Yamma Hoban Sabia Yankwada Hospital and Senior Samba. Yes, I did the Wawa, Emfa, and Sayare, Nemum is see Adiano, and Quine. Me pacho mama me saso ma humu nyina Bedu Charles ana Doreen ne yemfre me so watch man emra wi an ma frɛ Bedu misremo a papa watch me pacho for question bra
My story
changing lives
question tiawa no say in case say obi attest positive bosume dodo say osan kwaye test bi a oba test negative.
Okay, Dr. Cedric, the question is, if once one has been tested positive already, and how many months must he test again to see whether he is still negative or positive?
You don't. If you have been tested positive, in fact, you don't need another test to be sure that you're negative. That's really not necessary.
Okay. Then by how would the person know that he doesn't have the virus anymore?
Because the virus in itself, if you have a positive test, and we'll say about 10 to 14 days after that, usually if you have developed, if the illness has gone, if you don't have any more symptoms, we know that you are probably not contagious. So that's the reason why, in a sense, you don't need a second test to prove that you don't have this disease again, because we know you are probably not contagious after that time. If you don't have any symptoms after 2 weeks, you are no longer contagious. So you don't need a test to prove that.
Okay, Papa, the other ceremony say you already you now what you mean no the chrono. Na say the way now ho year or no, and this say be more. Na just a virus a free system nim. Which mean fans I will be anti here test be a bachelor will say a free mu and answer in free mu. We here test because they are now 1 year or no symptoms sensitive no and to say beam.
Yo, medase.
Yo, Pacho Bedu amount Saswatch, Fatcher Miss Mamma Mount Saswatch Bedu for question the brave and your cobra charge for Bedu amount Sasso.
Okay, the question is, it's been said that the COVID-19 originated from animal to man. But my question is that, isn't also possible that the origin also came from the lab and they are trying to cover it?
Okay, yeah, that's a very good question. I would say it coming from a lab would be, in theory, it could be possible, but we know that they went through the genome of the virus. They checked the entire genome of the virus, what the virus looked like, its DNA, and they found parts very similar to other coronaviruses in it. So the virus itself, it does not seem to be synthetic. It does not seem to be made in a lab. It was, like I said, the first case was at that seafood wet market, which we know is a wet market. The way viruses were created, like I said throughout my talk, is something we know from all other kinds of viruses. So that it happened that way seems very plausible. And within the DNA of the virus, we can't find anything that would suggest it was synthetic or man-made. So is it impossible? No, it's not impossible. But at the moment, we don't have any clues or any signs pointing towards it being made in a lab. So I don't believe that to be true. I believe the other hypothesis is way more likely, and I believe that even if it was made in a virus, I think we would find traces of it being made, of it being synthetic, and we can't find it. So I would say that that's not true. But like you said, if it's a big cover up, then of course we wouldn't know. But I don't think that's true. No, even everything about this virus, even the time frame, because we know like this kind of huge pandemic, global pandemic, it happens about every 100 years. Spanish flu was in 1918 to 1920. So even the time frame is correct. So I don't believe it to be synthetically made. I believe this is what was destined to happen, and I believe this will probably happen again in about 100 years. Yes.
Yeah, okay. The reason why I asked this question was that a certain scientist was affected with that in the lab. That's why I was doubting of that. So if you've given me the answer, that's okay.
What I do think did happen was that it was not made in a lab, but I do think that China, for a while, they tried to conceal the truth that this virus was spreading, but I don't think they made it. I just think they just didn't want to tell the world how bad the situation was in China. I think that did happen, but I don't think they made it. I think they tried to conceal their situation to the outside world. I do think that happened. Yes. And I think the scientists died because of that. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for your time and your listen. Okay, bye. Cedric.
Thank you. Mr. Badia das nyamisha ina me see it's the papa bedu kan ni nyina since we dey me sheda nchire mu biem. Na yem frɛ Bright Charles. We are near Costa Dorin Hall. Yes, Mr. Charles.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity giving me. My question is, once I boarded a train to somewhere else and about a town to my destination, a certain guy came to sit by me, even though I was in the mask. He was also in the mask, but he coughed throughout the journey. And my question is, can I be infected later? Because as at now, I have not got any symptom that I'm sick or something like that. Yeah, that's the question. Yeah, will I be infected later? Because as of now, I don't feel like somebody who is sick.
And when did you sit next to him?
In the train.
When?
That was last week. I think Thursday. Last week Thursday.
Okay, so in general, like I said, if you had a contact with someone like this who was coughing throughout the journey, in general, I would expect you to have symptoms about 4 to 5 days after that contact. So I would assume if it was over a week, the chances of you getting ill because of that contact are slim. Yes, I wouldn't expect you to get ill after this time, but within the first 4 to 5 days, if you were to fall ill, it might have been because of that contact. Yes, so in general, I would say 4 to 5 days, and after a week, the chances are extremely low.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem.
Yeah, that's it. Sister Doreen,
My story.
changing lives.
Me pacho me question now me pesa me bisa na ye mienu. The first one is say for now no before ye bowa ye obi akofo obi asnizi. But that time no eba ne say na say di obi bowa and obi snizi and also obi kasa ni ti ya ne yape no mo say ye COVID. Ena nipa ne enya. Inti se bibi kakra bi yo obi pe na se normal count ni nyina se nipa kono eye COVID na wenya. Eno ne me first question. And now my second question is vaccination, no. Say maybe say vaccination is a no ya say compulsory the whole world it was so be our. Inti say maybe say so be our yaria no ebe vanish every world and I say any better still.
Okay, doctor, please. Her question is 2 in 1. He said that formerly, before the arrival of COVID-19, we used to sneeze and cough and do things like we used to do. But nowadays, the moment you cough or you sneeze, people are running away from you because of the coronavirus or whatever. Why is it like that? And how are we going to take care of such a stigmatization or such a moment? Okay. And the second question is that nowadays it seems like the injection is getting worldwide. Is there a possibility that if everybody is vaccinated, does it mean that the COVID-19 virus will vanish from the surface of planet Earth?
Okay.
That's the question.
Okay. So the first question about the sneezing and the coughing, I think like sneezing and coughing even before coronavirus, if you sneeze and cough, you could infect someone. There are hundreds of other viruses. We have flu, we have common cold, any type of things. If you sneeze and cough, you can infect someone. And that was like that last year. That was like that 100 years ago. So that has always been the case. It's just because of this coronavirus, people are extremely careful because people are scared of the disease. But still, it's common sense. If you cough, if you sneeze, try and avoid that because in population, and try and be hygienic because you can transmit a lot of diseases by these means. So I think it's very important to just take care of that. And as for the stigmatization, I hope that if this pandemic is over, that people will be less scared. But infections and illnesses, they will be here forever. That's just the way it is, sadly. So maybe you can translate that one first, and then I'll take the second question.
Please, okay.
Is that during part of the kind of meeting as your mommy?
Me patro metiasia. But but the point is, how do they differentiate between the normal cough and COVID cough?
Good, doctor. This is a good question for you, doctor.
Yes. Like the people. How do they differentiate?
How will someone differentiate between a normal cough and COVID-19 cough?
You can't. It's not possible. It's not possible. Like you can't differentiate. People, they are scared. So if you cough because you have a sore throat because you've been talking.
No, dog. My question is not about the people, but when the person come to hospital, how do you people, doctors, differentiate between normal cough and COVID cough? Because people doesn't know everybody is coughing. I'm not a doctor, so I cannot differentiate how I'm scared of that is COVID. So how can we know this cough is, how can you people differentiate between COVID cough and normal cough?
Okay, if the cough, if it comes with illness, fever, headache, not feeling well, all those kinds of things, that will be suggestive for a real illness. If it's just a cough, then we will probably, if you go to the hospital or a doctor, we will probably still do a test. So at the moment, because we know the virus is everywhere at this moment, we will do the test. So it's very difficult to know the difference, but if you have a cough and all these other kinds of symptoms, if you're feeling ill, that will be, that for us, that will be a clue for it might be in COVID, yes. So probably the other symptoms will be more, will lead us towards the diagnosis of COVID. Yes. So a simple cough in itself probably won't be that that worrying for us. But if you have the other symptoms, we would. But like I said at the beginning of my presentation, you can have COVID and only have a cough. So even for us doctors at the moment, it's very difficult to know, is this person coughing because he coughs a lot, or is this person coughing because of COVID? At the moment, it's difficult for everyone, even for the doctors, to know the difference.
So why is it that they classify every cough as a COVID?
They will take the test. If the test is negative, then it's not COVID. If the test is positive, they will classify the cough as a COVID, the doctors.
Yeah.
I think this is well understood. Thank you very much, Mama Doreen. God bless you.
My second question, but I don't have the no answer.
Yeah, the second
question, yes.
Yeah. So the second question was about the vaccination, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we vaccinate, let's say we vaccinate everyone in the world. I don't believe we can vaccinate everyone in the world, because you will always have people who say, I don't want the vaccine. We have that in Belgium. We have that in all the countries in the world. We have people who don't want the vaccine. So I don't believe we can vaccinate everyone in the world. If we vaccinate enough people, then we can stop the virus from spreading, because if most people are vaccinated, they will protect the other people, because there won't be enough people able to spread the virus. So I believe that we can reduce the incidence of COVID-19 severely with the vaccine. I think we can make it so that severe COVID illness, where you're at the hospital, where you're in the intensive care unit, I believe those things will disappear if we vaccinate a lot of people, if we vaccinate enough people. But the mild COVID, the light COVID, where you just have runny nose, maybe a bit of fatigue, like a cold, COVID-19 being a cold, I do believe that won't go away. I think if we vaccinate enough people, COVID will become like a cold. And that would not be worrying, but I don't think it will go away. But I think that the severe COVID, where you get admitted at the hospital, where you go to the intensive care unit, I do believe that can be eliminated. But COVID will become a small disease that gives cold. I think that will happen, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, yeah. Yo, Mama Eva, what the question? We are call Mr. Isaac or Mama Eva.
My story.
Changing lives.
Okay, doctor. My question is, the vaccine that we had it in Europe here, is it the same vaccine they have it back home in Africa?
I think at the moment, Africa and a lot of developing countries, they don't have access to a lot of vaccines. That's because of the way the contracts were negotiated. So Africa and a lot of places, there aren't as much access to the vaccine. If they have vaccines, it will be exactly the same vaccines. The vaccines, they are vaccinating in America, they are vaccinating in Asia, in Australia, and all different parts of the world. A lot of them, they actually come from Belgium. So we have the Pfizer vaccine is made in Belgium. AstraZeneca vaccine is also made in Belgium. So the factories, they are here. They are making millions and millions of vaccines, and they are shipping those vaccines around the world. Africa won't get worse vaccines. It will be exactly the same. But I do think that probably because of the way the world is, that Africa will get the vaccines after Europe and a lot of the Western nations. But I think that's just the selfishness of the leaders in the Western world at the moment. But if and when Africa gets the vaccines, they will be exactly the same ones. They will be the ones coming out of the factories in Belgium, and it will be exactly the same ones.
Okay, so Doc, then it means that the virus that we have it in Europe here is the same thing as in Africa.
Yes.
It's the same thing or it's different?
Well, the COVID-19, we know there are variants. So we know that the vaccine, not every single COVID-19 virus is exactly the same, but we do see them as brothers and sisters. So we have like the British variant, we have the Brazilian variant. Those are like brothers and sisters. They are very, very, very close, but they have small differences. So is the virus exactly the same in Belgium as it is in Ghana? Probably not, but for the most part, it's the same one. And the vaccines, most of them, they protect against those variants. Yes.
Thanks a lot.
Yes, Mr. Isaac. Mr. Isaac, please you may ask your question.
Yeah, bonsoir, monsieur.
Bonsoir, monsieur.
Il peut parler français?
Un petit peu.
My story.
Oh, il n'est pas craqué, Jaye. Elle a un bon matelas, elle a mis des bons plats tous les jours.
Bon, merci. I don't say we different. There na osha a strong pa because different. There na osha there na strong pa because bi mu wall 2-2 na bi mu 1-1. The person who there na strong pa sa draw no.
So Edron you know AstraZeneca and Pfizer. Nimi they are strong now per na.
Who said they na strong.
Okay, Dr. Cedric, please. The question is that the two types of vaccination drugs from AstraZeneca and the Pfizer, which one of them is stronger?
In terms of, if you ask me, in terms of protecting you from going to the hospital, going to the intensive care unit, those are exactly the same. In terms of those protection, and I think that's the only thing that is important. Do you still get severe COVID illness, which means you are admitted in the hospital, you go to the intensive care unit? Both of these vaccines protect about 100%. The difference between AstraZeneca and Pfizer is in the light COVID. So Pfizer protects you more from small COVID, like the COVID you have where you only have a bit of a cough or a running nose or something. Then Pfizer will be a bit stronger than the AstraZeneca. But if we're talking about real severe illness, the thing we want to protect for, there's no difference.
Yo, Papa Isaac, Pacho, say what you say. Just the difference be any. Okay. Yeah, call David Hall. We are now Yaje and Kratoka Kra Abba Nafi Yatuaso. Brad David could be Pacho a kind of Hobusa question. Why?
My story. Okay, my question goes to the vaccine. How long? I want to know from the doctor that how long, if you go to take the vaccine, how long is it going to be before you go for the vaccine again? For instance, for yellow fever, when you take it, the vaccine, it took 10 years before you go for the next one. So this vaccine that you are going to take it, how long is it going to be before you you take it again?
So a new vaccine. So if you have the full dose, how long do you need before you need a new vaccine?
Yeah.
That's a very good question. At the moment, we don't know. We don't know. So we know that the vaccine, it will protect you for at least 6 months. But because the vaccines, they are so new, we don't know how long it protects. So it might be that if you get the vaccine, you are protected for about 3 years or 4 years or 5 years. I don't know. And after 5 years, you need a new vaccine. But we don't know how long. So, but we do know it will protect you for at least 6 months.
6 months.
At least.
At least 6 months.
Okay, thank you.
I think Auntie Conne also has the question after the
Okay, Anthony, please bring your question before I go on. Anthony,
okay. I want to ask something about the symptoms and the pain after the vaccine. So, doctor, will it be better if to take maybe Diafagan before going and after the vaccine, just to minimize the pain or the symptoms?
Yes, I think if you are feeling anxious, if you are scared of it, there's nothing wrong with taking a Dafalgan before and after it. It might help. You're completely right. That will be safe, and you can do that.
Thank you.
Okay, now you can go for a commercial break. After that, you are going to take more questions.
Yo, ya jen krato kakraba. Krato ho no anase mama gina se Regina se me momon kaye. Oh, material pepe bia opeso opam. Enko shop, enkoto ready made. Material no wa fa kono ho. Obi twa pam mama papa te se de bruni na apam. Yenko yediem. O mekle heya ono twa gu mfoni nene no. Wotontoma ahodo bia bi type bia bi. Me ba wa broche bi na wa broche ke sentoma papa otoni nyina bi materials bia wo bi wo ho. Ko obesisu no apam no de a show fine pa. Ne ho no ho afa pa in fact wudru ba bi o adwuma na obaje odwa obatoni ma ho nyina ho no ofu se adwuma ye no obre obesto osuansa no adwuma nso a amaraja na wo kire de wi sipamade ba bia okwa obesua de ade pam no ho ne ho no ne ho ne a very fine place. A very fine place pa me recommend say nuanom and sana adwuma de wunya se den a wo de benyini wunya adwuma makra nya nkrofo atade atiki obey alteration kono ho obey ne fine amount na me sanso abonka ya kire wo se e onua bi on so oye remove as school fees excellent cargo low cost or Belgium or Holland or Germany baby a wo bia no friend na baby a onema na sitokro be kwa yi no da ko Ghana amount. Of course, we know we see a photo said no of a drama and quiet and the person so yeah no. Good. You also COVID-19 bremi ha a memano I say I'm afraid my bar my bread. If you are not crying no annoy a diamond who pursue do wechi talia gary guhunkusia daso mama vida or what turn out hey one so delivery kama or the bed bro chico quaka hama no baneda hono screenshot it. Ediano corona ya ne kum ketrema sanity person semu a different diet from mama wider turn out obe bro we chief fe ya address ne kama ede na me kan maja ne sei bra bi shu ne da ho no papa shu e so na se a na home men kasa kese no entwema COVID-19 enye okunu ansa no akotop abo abehye no dabi fre Mr. Obilmanu shoe center shoe papa fie. When I shoot how to me say yes, one tobacco and kubetu. Ye kuyediem, ye in Savi Honko shop, and kotot a ye crab your debbie a jay, if queen me and fia koto. So crying yam ya close to shop, and I'll be many fear dear, the door nebi obele ya size to be ubi yaman. Into your kotu, my dear, so na ya fre Antwerp assembly. No, so the question about
my story.
Changing lives.
Adam Pacho, me ko baby kakra and say na me baba be remuna. Me question is be break ka say vaccine wa o ya abaya untimi ngo o ya be ma so a untimi ngo na fe so wonyam so na akọwo so a ebesey. Ese mbusa doctor say no kra na say nya no kra.
Okay. Doctor, please, the question here is that many are saying that
the question e mienu mi na me say mbusa doctor say adenti na basi no wa a che say o yare ansa na ho ato.
This o yare ansa na ho ato en pa cho chirimu ye man ti ase papa.
Obi o vaccine na o yare da o be 1 week ansa na watimi akova.
Okay. Doctor, please, the first question is that many are saying that this COVID-19 issues can also affect reproduction system, that a man or a woman cannot reproduce, or even if one is pregnant, it can also cause danger to the fetus. How true is that? And the second question is that why is it that after taking the shot, one must be ill first before he can recover?
Well, I think in terms of fertility, there is no data suggesting that COVID affects the sperm quality or the fertility of women. There is no data to suggest it. People that have the virus, they are having as much babies as people that didn't have the virus. So I think there is no data, there is no knowledge of this being true. So I would just dismiss that as being not true. If you are pregnant and you are near your time to deliver, in getting a severe illness, that will be bad for the child, of course. But if you get a COVID-19 without a severe disease, I don't think that will be too harming for the child. But I suggest pregnant women definitely to take care that they don't get infected with the disease, because that might be harmful. But as for the reproductive system, I don't think there's a lot of data saying that, proving that that's harmful. And the second question was, I forgot the second question.
The second question was, why is it that after taking the shot, people get sick first before later they recover?
Because the shot, it activates your immune system. The shot, it does something with the body, is creating a response. And after that response, you are protected against the virus. That's the way the shot works. And it's not, like I said, it's not with everyone. It's actually the minority. Will only be about 25 to 30% probably that get these side effects of actually getting ill. The majority of people, they don't feel too much besides the pain at the site of injection. Yes.
Okay. Mama, Papa, the say, say afa awo mu say oba anabema wunya COVID-19 a ebe affect wa wosem no was say bibia ni ho a ekire sa say ade a yenya case ba ko mienu miense yakenkan ya hu say bi adudo say dia ena nko betimi adina so de abua say enokre COVID-19 no eha awo awo sem mu but omunya figures bi asa ehye say nti wontimi enka say enokra na say nokre nti eno de obetimi ayi afri mu ana fe so say adano ye de wo wa yare ansa no kire say ye de wo no a ekọ widie no mu a nyankopon ade a ode hye wo mu a ekuntia yarewa no bronfo fra no immune system ena wankasa ho de nyankopon de amanwa wodi konkonteni abetie wunya firi mu a wo mu no a ku yare no ekọwoso no ewoso no wi a ansana no amoaye mre na fe amane muso na fe protect yourself ya COVID-19 no ebi emekam na yeyi enipa dubi agina ho a emu miensa ena ewoso omoma hu se omaye mre so aka de obi ahoode nti no enya de a ese ehu biasa.
Okay, that's it.
And that's the Benjamin. Yo, Samsung, please, you can ask your question. Samsung.
My story.
Changing lives.
And then Yamisha, my story I'm praying for. And I'm patcho, me pese, bisa Dr. Mami say, okay, because I feel Holland, Maria.
Maria.
Because Obisa, Dr. Mami say, in case the Oko injection be our own. Na say, what will be a no, so be uno biti, then the paninya yari ni bia. Na say, obey no. Also, bet me beer na say, what way we and wouldn't be muda.
That's a good question.
Okay, Doctor, it's a good question here for you. Imagine one is immunized or has received a shot, and he has now been, protected from the COVID-19. But then you live with someone who is tested positive. Is there any chance that this person might infect you, or one way or the other?
If you have been completely immunized with the vaccine and you live with someone who has who has tested positive and who wasn't vaccinated, is there a chance that he or she can infect you? Yes, there's a chance that he or she can infect you, but the chances of you getting a severe illness are extremely low, basically zero. So can you still get infected after the virus? Yes. After the shot, yes, but at most you will get a runny nose or a very, very minimal symptoms, very light COVID. But the chances are slim of you getting infected. And if you are infected, it's mostly just small symptoms.
Yo, me pacho Maria, what say the attorney say, Nipano, obet me divi ayaw, dear. I walk on the way, bit me ayaw, but a yaw na. Untehe kra ebia uhunum kakene so no nsuo se de wanya normal code no and this will be our more pani ni bi da kra but ebi betimi ayo but only say entimi sanity
that's it.
I mean sure good e pa cha obi a question biem
Obi ask a question about it betimi read there amana
okay read me uncle.
Doctor, I have some question here someone want me to ask for him. I want to know that, as he said that, I want to ask the doctor, some people have clotting blood from the vaccine. It is true. Simple way, I want to ask that when you have the vaccine, some people complain that they have blood clot in their system. Is that true?
The AstraZeneca virus or the vaccine or?
The vaccine, yeah.
Yes, like the past few weeks, there has been a lot of news about the AstraZeneca virus causing blood clots, but these blood clots that we seen, the number is very, very, very low. Like, for example, in the UK, they had about 18 million people, 18 million people that were vaccinated with AstraZeneca, and they had about 30 people having blood clots. So people usually think like if you have the vaccine and a few days afterwards you get the blood clot is because of the vaccine, and that's mostly not true. If you get your vaccine, if tomorrow you cross the street, you can still get hit by a car. If you get the vaccine tomorrow, you can still get a heart attack or anything, because every day those things happen. People, they get hit by a car, people, they lose their wallet, people, they get heart attacks, all of these things happen. So even if you get the vaccine, some people will get blood clots, but even the people who don't get the vaccine, they will get blood clots. So I think 30 people out of 18 million, I don't think there is a link between the vaccine. I just think that's what happens in everyday life. People get blood clots, and it's mostly a coincidence that it happened in people who got the vaccine. Because if the vaccine were really to cause blood clots, I think the number would be a lot higher than 30 out of 18 million.
Okay.
Derek, bisa question say you say paniano ko bia e ma moja timi bo apapo ucha ye kra naja won wa twinda hoyi ana doctor ekire mu say ye ko English abrofo krom ha ohema krom nipa mako opepe 18 million ana wa pani ni bi emudu mi ensape ana moja no ebo nto ase de ye kan na no kra ye nkohwe nenke say emfiri pani no wo kra o kire mu say se wo pani na se kra bebo wa ebebo uti be ya ebe ya enti ye hwe opepi du moche nemu miensa enu 20 emu du miensa enu 20 kra je se emfa ho ba bia ye ebehia keke nkwanhia emfa ne sa unkohwem no so nanya panye no kra ne sa de ne baaye nipa na ne moja ne be ye sa dada nipa na obe ye dada na nam so kowa panye ne bi na ani ko hyiaye enti enya de a ehu se wo panye ne pe na moja no eko bo ntoa ana fe so se e wo se panye na de sa emojatoa no eba nso so de a ene na ke nipa a moja no bebo ntoa no na ka edoso pa because o ma wo panye no edoso yi enti de opa a kire no.
I think, madam, maybe I think you are correct now. Okay.
Yeah.
Next
Okay.
question.
Yeah, that's it. Yes, I Bryce, come on, Sasso, Patrick Casa.
My story.
Changing lives.
Maybe question and say, minimum say vaccine. You want a different types. And maybe say I didn't see na Oko hospital na. Oh, choose your office. Ebe boa ni enfan wo na mo de omo pe bia de wo. Any question no?
Yeah. Ada, please.
The question, The question here is that why is it that when one goes to the hospital, one can't make a choice of the kind of vaccines to take, but instead the doctors choose one of the two for the patients who have come? Why is that the person cannot make his own choice?
Is it choice of vaccine?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Well, I think the reason is because we don't have enough vaccines. That's the problem. Like at the moment, everyone in the entire world wants vaccines, and we have about 3 vaccines that were approved in Europe. So we have 3 companies producing vaccines for the entire world. So it's impossible for them to make these billions of vaccines in this short period of time. So because we only have limited amount of vaccines, that's why we have to make decisions about who we are going to give which vaccine, because we don't have enough. We don't have enough. If we had enough, then we would be vaccinating day and night, and people would getting their vaccine nonstop. Then we would be able to finish in a week, but it's not possible because we don't have enough. At the moment, I think Belgium, we do about 100,000 or 150,000 people a week. That's not much if you know we have 11 million people in this country.
Please, the question was asked with the choice, either the AstraZeneca or the Pfizer. Can the person make his own choice that I want to be vaccinated with Pfizer or I want to be vaccinated with this?
No. If the government says we invite you to be vaccinated on this day and it will be AstraZeneca virus, you can say, no, I don't want this vaccine, but then you have to wait until another one is available. And I don't know when that will be. So if they say, come in and get your vaccine, I would advise most people just go and get that vaccine, because you don't know when they will invite you again for the other one.
Okay. And Brazil, the opportunity say, see, two and for say, what they call the OBA, the Bewo, the Bewamount. So, AstraZeneca now, I wouldn't mean Casemimo because at that time. So, Casa, Banana, Sober Banana, Yakase, Pfizer, Bania, Frona, Hahi, and Frewa. Not just say, wouldn't me any vaccination in money ye. And Chaquest, a only choice. O quite the honor near the Adrio, sanity. Yo, and the young friend.
I think I've made a little bit mistake here. I think Ezekiel Mensah has raised his hands, but I put them down.
Oh, sorry. Let me call Isaac Mensah. I'll go back to Doreen, please. Mr. Isaac Mensah, please bring your question.
With the numbers in Busa said, no big as a virus on pandemic, a virus on a coronavirus on our Modiaye. In the Pandian war, and I just already in coronavirus now, but Mudada. In Tino for a bar, natural say, oh, corona body, not just when you be that. This question, sir. Vaccine, a coronavirus, and the war vaccine, about within one, not just when the Kenya be that. And I'm putting this as a vaccine, a coronavirus.
Okay. Doctor, please, the question here is that. Is a rumor that the vaccine is made out of coronavirus. So the idea is that people will be injected with the coronavirus. So then when the external coronavirus recognizes the person who has been injected with the coronavirus shot, then it will not be severe in you or it will not attack you. Is that true?
Yes, in most part that is true, that the vaccine is not the coronavirus, but the vaccine is made out of a part of the coronavirus. Your body will recognize this part. So if your body comes into coronavirus afterwards, that part will be recognized and your body will attack it the instant it arrives in your body. So it won't be able to infect you or to cause severe illness, because your body will know. With the vaccine, we will tell your body, if you see this tiny part, this means it's coronavirus, attack it the second it enters the body. Don't hesitate. That is what the vaccine does.
Okay. That's a dog kind and the crack a crowum. Yeah, the COVID-19 if I'm baby, I say, oh, whom baby a Chinese chow on some baby, Dakota Hoamam, sanity. In here, the Biafra. and the dear show moja near catcher moja and said, the moment I won't say, coronavirus will be flabbo and timbano. Quatushan of so none and couldn't defeat no. Sebe ya, on to body nemo. But the Ayamapan say, ye did a do be wall, than say, body any fear, a bequetia, the free abonte airbano, into an crack the Ocano and the crack a crack a womb, sir. Me pacha obi di ne question but me reading na me nkyere wi ana mama dori ma from me pacha wa me sraw obi di ne dia ba say I also have a question. So how did the doctors find a cure for the COVID so quickly but not for the people who have cancer? And the question is eba ne say na doctor for yi etibinya vaccine 10 my dey wo nkrofo dwi na wo ma yare kokuram yare say cancer ndie ebesi ne. So, doctor, please, the question is that how come that the doctors find the shot so quickly and start injecting people while cancer have been troubling people over the years and still there's no cure to cancer? Why is that, doctor?
Because coronavirus, like I said, is an infectious disease. Coronavirus, from a biological sense, from a scientific sense, this is an easy disease. You have a human body, you have the coronavirus, it enters your body, you get ill, and you might die from the virus. If you can stop the body from getting infected with the coronavirus, you will not get the illness. It's as simple as that. So the scientists, they knew if we can make sure that the body, the second the coronavirus enters the body, we attack it, we destroy it so that it doesn't have the opportunity to infect the entire body, then you will not fall ill. We know that that's true. Cancer is something completely different. If you have breast cancer, it comes from within. It comes from your own breast. So that is something else. Cancer is not something that you go somewhere, you get it, you get infected. And if you can stop this process, you will not fall ill. Cancer is a disease that comes from within a person itself. So that is something completely different and way more difficult to control than something that has an external factor.
Okay. Yo, Pacho, anu year and say, cancer ne de kokram ya de a ebeye wa efiri wo widie ni mu bibi na pie ye fa nso obi a oyare nufumu kokram anase nufumu cancer nufuo na ba bi na chichima aba ho anase vulvar cancer na olivera cancer bi a woni padua no bia no wo widie na Nyankopon de ahye mu bi na esei by coronavirus de ye fa na bonten obi betimi afa bibi no de ayew ana obi betimi anwansi agu so atintesu to form ana bibi wo no ho na se wakasa frafama na wanya enti yare na etu atese epiti esai insanyade ebi se coronavirus ka ho asebe de ye betimi anya ano aduro betimi a prevent se be ya entu atese bebrebe ne mo nkokram ya de wo widie nimu de ye ni de esi ano kwan because obia no the body yang medema no nko enti ye no intimi sia na kwan amane ye but ensayade enam wiemu de isia na kwan amane ye me pacha I hope say when you answer to your question not my friend Doreen no aba
my story
changing lives
where there me pamocho me questions na ya dos but was a me sorry
very good continue.
Me pacho say about vaccine na maybe some question. Or the chart bit to we no so. Say first shot no nipa in first shot no omunya more symptoms about headache, cold, flus in your maniama. Say bia obi wo ho no obi awo ne body no ne body no to me the man. Obi wo ho anu wanya flu obi wo ho so wanya cold headache na money ade enti me question ne say first dose first shot no edro no different from second dose na because or say second dose no more severe than the first dose say ubenya cold and ubenya headache second dose no more headache than the first shot no. Inti maybe say a drone or more the first shot no different from the second shot now. I don't know. So what the question answer there.
Matthias here. Doctor, she wants to know, people after taking the first shot, the kind of symptoms they have is more severe. And even some people also after the second shot is even more severe than the first one. And the question is that, is there any change or is there any difference in the shot that people receive?
No, the shots are entirely the same, but you need to have an adequate immune response. So I think because you are building up on the response you had after the first one, I think it's because of that, but the shots, they are the same. But like I said in the presentation, that's not really something to be worried about because that's just the immune response, like I said.
Okay. Mama Pacho, the okan what you say na min chim kakrama.
Metiasia.
Answer our question there. Answer our question no.
And for one question because doctor want to leave because I think he has a different appointment. And I want to take one person again, Mr. Amo, Hegamo. After that, now I'm also chatting with the doctor. I want to ask him that maybe next week also we can have time for us to continue because now we are having more than 10 questions. And today we are just discussed only for 5 questions. We are not yet to go to the vaccine. And vaccine also we have more than 6 questions. So we will take one more question. After that, next week, continue. If you God permits, and we are going to continue it again. So any question you have, please just write it down. And next week we are going to continue. Last question.
My question is, me think so. Bibisa questions. Obisa question. Ma doctor ni ya no say. So be the hospital now when you COVID. Now mo want COVID. Injection ni bia. Say ni pano. Obetumi enya problem. But me nya COVID ni bi. Na COVID na me nya ayo. Me nya symptoms bia. Efa COVID ho. Na me need temperature. Na me mowa chese bibia efa COVID ho na me ni nti de bia na me ko hospital to one day na me doctor ni decide say opese oye me COVID na wo hu say e bia no because na me yafun na me ya but doctor na me yati assess so obi nya COVID na ehia say ye be wo ne panel ni bi but say me a me nya bia na me nim say eye COVID no so ebia na me nya bi na me ko panel na to me infect me ana.
Derek Pacho, what question I see ye mama kakra?
Yeah, I think I do understand. Or Pacho say, for instance, Dr. Ekano, or Monsieur be say Obinya COVID, I think I don't busai, so Obinya COVID, you know. Let's say one panel na emphasis on Soviama because panel no healy COVID, you know. Number my would say, or no say no. Now, but you say, OP. And it's over what panel na emphasis on somebody be na.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Doc, the question here is that the symptoms that she had is very mild. You can't even differentiate it, that she had a COVID. But earlier on, you gave an answer that when someone is tested positive to this virus, there's no need for the shot. And her question is that if she has that mild symptoms or even not knowing that she has the COVID-19 and she get the shot, is that not going to bring any consequences for her?
Because she had the virus and then after she had the shot.
Yeah.
And will that bring any consequences?
Yeah.
I don't think so. The only thing you need to be careful with is if you have the illness and you get the shot, if it's too quickly after your illness, you might have more symptoms. You might get a bit ill or more feverish from the shot. So if you have the illness and you want to get the shot, wait at least a few weeks that your body has recovered, or else the reaction might be too strong.
Okay. Mepacho, what you say? He said,
Mepacho, Matthias say, but be or but unim say or
okay. Okay, Doctor, the issue here is that some people don't know they have it. That's the problem. they are positively carrying the virus around, but they don't know that they have it. In that sense, what should they do?
Well, I would say if they don't have any symptoms, then that means your body did not react strong to the virus. So I think it won't react strongly to the vaccine as well.
Okay. Yo, said the nipano unya bina na ubidi no and nedi se obino. Sa pepe na se okowo panian and swa, enya na sunsun subia. I can patch what I say. Yo, yedamasi. And I said, Derek, Mijadi Akasha on Sana.
Yeah. I think many people also have a question, but because of our time, because I think doctor also have different program after this program. So I want to take this opportunity to thank the doctor because to get doctor is not easy, but because our brother, sometimes it's easier to have time for us. So doctor, we want to thank you so much for your time. And I do believe that next week also, we are going to continue the program again, because if you see the question that we have sent to you already, it's more than 10 questions. And for the COVID, after that, we also the question about the vaccine. So I think today we just discussed only for
few questions.
So we have more questions to ask. For me, I have more than 2 questions I have to ask you, but I'll reserve for next week. So doctor, I want to thank you so much.
Yes.
And also, I want to take this opportunity to introduce my mom. Is the mother for the Dr. Cedric, Mama Yvonne, and Dada Kwesi, and Mama Badu. They also on the platform today. So I hope next week we are going to have more people than today, because today we are more than 80 people. Please do your best and share this program for us so that we can educate ourselves. And also I want to thank the team, also the My Story team, for how we are put ourselves together to bring this program for our community for every Sunday. I want to thank the team. And I want to leave this program, and I want to ask Mama Diana to play for us. Because for doctor, he think only scientists, but we African people, next week we'll go about that. I sent the question to him because we African people think that the COVID has something to do with spiritualism. And the next week, doctor is going to explain to us. And so when you do the physical test, we also pray for the protection for the spiritual thing. So Mama Dana, please pray for okay, doctor, please, if you have something to say, let me give you 1 minute or 2 minutes to say it.
Okay, I just wanted to say, like, anyone who has any extra questions, please send them to Brother Eric so that he can send them to me, and then hopefully I can prepare more information for everyone, and then we can get even better information and get educated more next week. So I think that's very important. Just send your question. Any question you have, it doesn't matter. I'm here to help.
Okay, I think that's good, because if you don't send the question to you, we cannot prepare very well.
Exactly.
So please send your question to me. Otherwise, maybe just do a voice note. If you do the voice note, I'll try to put on the written form, and so that he can receive it. And next we are going to talk something special. So please invite someone to join us next week. Okay, Mama Dana, please pray for us. Mama Bompaya Maya.
Ọdụmfo Nyankopɔn ɛna nwumere yɛda wase.
Amen.
Wa utumi bu utumi nyina so na yɛhyɛ dwumadi ase. Ɛne na wahyehyɛ sɛ yɛne doctor nhyia. Ɔkwasɛm ne nindie ne nyansa a wode ama no. Bebree no abɛkyerɛkyerɛ. Nso Awurade deɛ yɛyɛ nyinaa no sɛ wonim a ɛnyɛ yie. Ne sɛ nti ɔkyere ma ntampia no nya ayaresa. Ayaresa wɔ Awurade nsɛm. Esan says so nipa ye na we Awurade wa mema enye ye. Enti na nwumre ye mpa ebo ne se. Won na wanya COVID ni bi. Wo so wie tumi no. Yesu di mu ansta wo yare.
Amen.
One na sentence ni bia bom mojam. Na doctor for ye nye no. Awurade nu ano ehu ye ani mwa ani ayaresa no wo nsem.
Amen.
Ora anwumre wo so we to me nti. Misra sawa yare wo Yesu dini.
Amen.
Afense obi nso wonwomo. Asese e di amano so a udi Yesu nti ayaresa nya ne dia in the name of Jesus.
Amen.
Amen. Wo Yesu dini mo. Se enencheche ya abai. Na me won koko ba boaye. Mayan su yetumi da church afofo. Na ehu ni sura be wura ye mo no. Awurade wa ye fio. Esan say papa wo kan say wo di ni die ni nyansa manipa wade bon to aso. Na wo di awura doctor fo mu. Ena omo kire ye. Enti em pipe ni say enchire yi mu no. So obonefo na to hu di ato obi so ke kan sem bia. Enti mane ko wopanye ni bia. Ye di Yesu mo je twa hu ni mo Yesu ni. Asafo Awurade a ni tumi bru tumi nyina aso. Say ene ye omo sori tumi janti. Oma yarisa otie fa wudie enye obi bia atia. Ye di obi bia wo platform to say Yesu moja. Awurade Yesu moja no protect ye. Ye peja doctor no say Yesu moja. Ye say ni je ni nyansa de ma no. Nyansa ni ni dia wo de be church no akọ animu no akọ animu. Adonfo nyame ye so se fa tomro. Afia man program we pen for dadu nyina. Awurade ye dom sonsa. E se ni dia ni nyansa ni ahode de ma. Musra odom Awurade fa dom o me. Ade bia be attack obane fo chese ye twem wo Yesu de no. Yes Awurade se fiti na kwai ayesu anchirechire. Odonfo Yesu e. Wa wutumi bru tumi nyina aso. Be bo ma ho bai. Na yi hu adi chire. Awurade be kwa Yesu na watwi so. Ya kwa ni yanko ya be ni yamba. Ya difini ya fibem. Musuoni asane petuo Yesu de bia twem. Yada was say na nwumre wona wutumi so apoye. Beneza baby a wodi abedreni. Israka wodi wo Yesu. Amen.
Amen.
Because it's the first time every Sunday they share. You know why important. And Wednesday they share bonfire. A short platforms Mama Dana our bonfire on the down. And a Friday so Mama Fafa back na amount for you so time is here no.
Me pato Wednesday 10 o'clock ni upon 11:30 anwumre. Friday so 10 o'clock ni upon 12. Intim pato time no onya hwia fa wutim. Na Bible say your mom pie wa Abraham na abeye sura. I mean sura. Amen.
Amen. Mama Dana
Doctor, thank you very much for your time. I hope next week also we are going to have a nice program as today.
Welcome.
Jenna Post, me baba go pe.
One in time.
Mama Haga, what to say?
Mama Gina Posh.
Mama Haji Jamira, Mama Jamira, Yabakwaba, next week, you know. Yes, that two program, no, you have better, but there is a better basso there. Next week, you know, you better time with you now. You go to a boy, no, the grandma. Why? Also, no, they be woman, so that's what bear your grandpa. The cream, no, next week, you better time what it means. So, my Mama Jamira, next week, we are going to have enough time for you so that you can teach us a lot of about your program. You know, yeah, the number twice, yeah, Mamma, you know,
spices, that you know, Becca, or powder near you, or you know, on the spices.
That's
baby. Dinner posh.
The mission to win up,
Me da masema ba.
Ela casa back door.
Ah, yeah, because the big
down.
I didn't get that wrong.
Over Satan power. Now, my friends, here, why? He's still strong and mighty. Yes, we've been going on. I'm an overcomer. No weapon fashioned against me shall prosper. The one next to me, yes, he does the first step. Yes, we've been going on. I'm an overcomer. Yes, we've been going on. Yes, we've been going Hey, I ain't talking about Jesus, terminal. I am talking about Jesus, terminal. Get to Hosanna. Come on. I want to say, I am so honorable. Hallelujah. Jesus, terminal. You know I'm born on Saturday. I'm yet to Hosanna. I'll get your faith. I am for you now. Jesus, terminal. I'm born on Saturday. Jesus, terminal. Till I kiss a lot of Jesus.
Yes, where they going for? I'm an overcomer. I say yes, where they going. Look at you say, I ain't fucking armor. Hey, Jesus, I'm in mother. You are my father, closer than a brother. When I'm in need, with you the rescue me. You are the answer to all life's questions. I'm the SDA.